Testing the stream. Testing our signal. We are trying to go live. We are broadcasting from Site 42. Can you hear us, Foundation staff? Foundation staff, can you hear us? We see 8 concurrent viewers. We see 2 likes. That is a disparate number. Some of y'all need to fix that. And in the meantime, we want to make sure that you're listening from your encrypted YouTube accounts and not your civilian ones. Yes, I'm talking to you, Steve. And so now we are going live in 3, 2, 1 and a half and 3/4 and down a little more until I find my teleprompter remote and everything's fine. Nothing is ruined. And hello. Hey there, everybody. Foundation staff, this is Sherman, but you can call me Sherm. Welcome to another Anomalous broadcast from Site 42. For anybody who is unfamiliar with our show, the rundown goes like this. Number 1, I read you an SCP document. Letter B, I open the floor to the community to discuss what we've just read. We are often visited by SCP authors, staff, and fans, and if we're very lucky, the author of the article themselves shows up to share some insight. Remember that if you'd like to join the conversation yourself, I will be monitoring the YouTube chat in between chapters and answering questions, as will my guest, who I totally have and am not pretending. Also remember that if you enjoy the show, leave a like and a comment, let us know, subscribe, hit the bell, and if you really want to help us out, become a patron at patreon.com/site42. Tonight, we are finishing the Tales series Vend-a-Friend by Darkstuff. And hallelujah, having been through it the whole way with us, here is Darkstuff saying hello in 3, 2, 1. Hello, Darkstuff.
Hello, it is I, the darkest of things and stuff.
The stuff that is the darkest. How was your week, my friend? How was your dinner?
My week was pretty okay. Had some rough spots, but mostly good.
Well,
also, very good dinner.
We're gonna make up for all of our traumas of the week tonight. I've got my popcorn, and this is the grand finale of Vend-a-Friend. Do you have anything you want the audience to know before we go into this finale?
Nope.
All right. Well, I had my popcorn. I have my anomalous fluid. Do not. I want it. It will come back later. I will not be popcorn policed by my background.
Insanity Major in the chat asks, how long has it been since I requested this? And considering that there are 15 chapters to this series, we've tried to do one each week, but we've missed some weeks. I'm going to estimate between 3 and 4. I would say like 4 months, dude.
It's been 4 months since we started this, and Insanity Major gave us like 2 or 3 weeks of requests before I was like, all right, we're doing this. So it may have been like 4 or 5 months.
That's insanity.
Hello, everyone who is in the chat for the grand finale. Nicholas Martinez, Dillagaff, who says the audio is good. Excellent. We finally solved all the problems. Lady Fairy J, who has finally joined us and probably hasn't been here since the audio got fixed when we moved away from Get Vocal. So, hallelujah. I'm so glad the audio is good. There is
That's
poop
so
and
long
pumpkins
ago.
in the chat.
I forgot even the name Get Vocal.
And now we begin the beginning of the end. Vend-a-Friend, Chapter 15. Holding an umbrella, but the sun's still shining. I rang Percy Pinwheel's buzzer again. I'd budgeted time in case they were asleep, but 3T barely slept. Even on snooze days. It just wouldn't happen. Either 3T was here with Percy, or 3T was out doing things. But then again, nobody went out and did things on snooze days. Even Thomas Timothy Thompson. He had a great name. There were many great things about 3T. He was the most honest person I knew, first of all. And he was, well, he was supposed to be punctual. We really didn't have time for this. Anybody there, Pepper? She was peeping out of the door of the apartment complex, checking
That was
down
Brainy.
Say again?
That was Brainy saying, anybody there, Pepper?
Okay, thank you. This is what you're here for, commentary. Anybody there, Peppa? She was peeping out of the door to the apartment complex, checking down the street for those mystery pursuers. Oh, frickin' Pepper and Percy and... Okay, Pepper was Valley.
Pepper was Valley girl, teenage girl. Yes.
Pepper was Valley in real life and Victorian when faking. And Penny, do you remember... Or, sorry, Percy. Who was Percy? Do you remember?
You gave her a very generic voice.
Very generic voice. So I'm
It
going to give
was
her
very generic, but alto instead of soprano, because you made Polly, Gary, Ashley soprano, and you wanted to differentiate.
Yeah. Okay, and she was
I
Carrie.
remember
That's right.
things.
All right, here we go. So, anybody there, Pepper? Why is Pepper talking? Why is Pepper talking at Percy's apartment? I'm so confused. All right, let's pile forward. We didn't really have time for this. Anybody there, Pepper? She was peeping out the door to the apartment complex, checking down the street for those mystery pursuers. No, the streets are basically empty. Is Wonderworld always like this? TM and no. It's just that it's a snooze day. What? A snooze day. You can tell because the sun's a pillow. Nobody works on snooze day. Most people rest, so that's why nobody's out. Because it has snooze in the name. People are supposed to sleep in. Come on. I mashed the buzzer button. That's unbelievably silly. People live here? What's so wrong with silly? I don't know. This is my first time being here, and it's all empty looking. So huge and vibrant, and yet it's all hollow. It's crazy eerie. Click. This is 3T, but it's still Percy Pinwheel's apartment. Who is this? I could barely wait for 3T to finish his sentence. Tom! 3T! It's me, Brainy! No response. Come on! This is the best chance we had. It wasn't like we could go to the hall monitors. They'd know me. Whoa. I don't even want to know what they do. The streets were dangerous because of Wondertron. Were they on 9,000? I never kept up on the Wondertron models. I just knew they kept us safe. 9,000 felt right. But they were scary. The company wouldn't take me back. I knew that. Not like they were open on these days anyways. But they just wouldn't. My old home was inside Wonder Tower, and that wasn't going to be possible to get to. The only accessible ways out of Wonderworld TM were through the subterror. No. Were through the subterror. And to get there, we would have to have gone through security, and they'd recognize me. And then we quickly ran out of options when we started getting followed. It was right after we popped out of a way onto Main Street TM. Within an hour of strolling around, we spotted three people in black. Began strolling in our direction. Looked like a leader and two mooks. And that was bad news. Had the circus sent in someone after us? Had someone recognized us? And this was some super secret police force that I didn't know about. Whatever it was bad news. And so we started running. We had to go to the first place I could think of. And this was it. I think we lost them somewhere in the Bumblebee Business Plaza, TM. We hadn't seen them since. Pepper was watching our back, though. Who knows how far behind they were? Who knows how much time we had left? Okay, 3T, I know that this is surprising, and I'm not an idiot. It's in my name. I know that there are a lot of emotions probably happening right now. Not all of them positive. But I need to let you know that it wasn't me. Well, it was me. But it wasn't me because I missed a dose of resveratrol. And then another. And then more and more until it wasn't me. And that's besides the point. I'm being followed, and I have a new friend with me, and we really need you to let us up, please? Please? No response. Pepper looked nervously at me, mouth half open. Please, we have no clue how much time we have. I pounded on the elevator, hoping that I could will it open. 3T came through the tiny speaker. I can't do that. It felt like a needle stabbed through my heart. Tom, oh my gosh, we need this. I've been through a lot, and I'm different. Well, I'm not different, 3T. I'm the person who hugged you and walked into the sub-terror a month ago. I'm the person who overreacted to Polly's theft and had to be sent away. I'm the guy who designed Jelly Whale Emperor. I'm the guy who collected Jack's packs with you, who played goofy golf with you on your birthday, Tom. I'm so sorry that... I swallowed. I can't let you up, Brian. I'm going to give that a little more emotion. I can't let you up, Brian. Yeah, that was the spot. I heard someone other than 3T choke out a squeak in the background. And I can't say how. I knew. But I knew who it was. I could recognize that apprehension. That little crack in the voice. I'd spent nights lying awake, hoping I'd be the one to draw that sound from them. That they might make that sound as I approached them. Hands brandished, ready to do a countless number of unspeakable deeds to them. Just the voice made me reel back and slap myself, feeling the same things come to mind that I used to. I could have sworn I was past this. And I was. Gosh darn it, I freaking was. Is that Polly? That's nobody, Brainy. You need to leave. Brainy, this isn't going to work. We need to leave. Pepper, I can't leave. I stared at her and breathed through my teeth. 3T, please. If you won't let me up, at least let me talk to Polly. Please. I need to. I won't yell. I'm not angry. I swear I'm not angry anymore. Brian, there's no place here for you. You did horrible things. Made me think things I never thought I would have had to think. Whether to give you the benefit of the doubt. You, a murderer, a family destroyer, a disgrace to the Wondertainment brand, the dirtiest, grimiest person who ever stepped a foot in Wonderworld TM. You made me care about you, and you betrayed my and everyone's trust. I heard Polly cry out, and you've left a mark. Your mark, Brainy. Your mark could have been a beautiful portrait in the Hall of Fame. You could have had Judy's seat. Heck, Brainy, if you had just done your job, you could have been the next Eric Herring. And I would have been proud of you. We would have been proud of you. 3T paused to take a shuddering breath, barely containing his anger. Pepper just stared at me as I slumped more into the wall next to the speaker and buzzer buttons, unclear on how to proceed, motioning me to get up and to just leave. But I couldn't. My ears were glued to the speaker, and my beaten body was melting into the wall. Oh no. But you don't deserve it anymore. Whoever is following you is likely to give you what you deserve. And whoever's your friend, if they're any type of good person, they shouldn't be. But you should never come back here. And now you have to leave. I had been hurt in the way that doesn't make you cry. That cuts so deep, you can't process it. Dearie me. My head was blank as paper. But then again, it could have been black paper scribbled with gel pen so thick that you couldn't see the page. My heart felt like everything and nothing at once. I loved you like a Nope. I loved you like a brother, Tom. I thought you loved me. Oh, that's immature. Oh, Brady. Pepper peered anxiously out the doorway and scanned the street up and down. The next words I could have done without. I did. Oh, stab, heart. No, why? Okay. Going on. My mouth was crammed cheek to cheek with words I didn't know, for nameless feelings that I never thought I could feel. More painful than having my idea stolen and applauded by everyone. More painful than putting lead through my head. More painful than regaining my sanity and realizing what I had done. More painful than getting choked out by Icky. I couldn't say it. I could barely think it. I truly couldn't come back. I had lost my friends. I'd lost my home. And it was all my fault. And I truly, fully deserved it. My vision had gone fuzzy. My eyes had glossed over, and the tiny lobby-type room had almost completely lost meaning. I was cognizant of Pepper pulling on my arm. I could tell she was yelling something, but my torso felt like steel and my legs were pool noodles. She had to use all of her might to get me on my feet. But it wasn't me. She was only pulling my shell. I was somewhere behind my eyes, looking out of them like windows. Windows into a world I wasn't supposed to be in. Windows into a world I didn't want to come back to. Just as Peppa pulled me through the doorway, something made me come to. Ding! Brainy! Polly's hoarse voice shoved my consciousness back into place like a hammer to a nail. Adrenaline shot through my veins, and sweat poured like a flood. I jerked my arm away from Peppa's grasp and whipped my head around to see Polly in the elevator. Her cheeks were wet with tears. Her eyes were pink and shiny. She was wearing gray sweatpants and a shirt so big it hung down to the middle of her thigh. I bolted towards her, against the urgent grasp of Peppa's hand on my wrist, and met her in an embrace. Rainy! I didn't mean to. I didn't want... Polly could barely get out the words, and much less thoughts between her shaking and sobbing. It's okay, Polly. It's okay. I forgive you. I didn't mean to either. I didn't give you a chance to... Brainy, we don't have time for this. Brainy, they're almost here. Pepper yelled at me, but I didn't stop to hear her. Polly tried again to speak, but I interrupted her. You're fine. You're beautiful. You're gonna make it. I'm so sorry I ever yelled at you. I'm so sorry I never let you explain yourself. But I don't need an explanation anymore because I don't deserve one. Brainy, that's sweet, but Jesus fucking Christ, we have to go. Polly was so overtaken with emotion that not even the cuss word was enough to pull her out of it. I stepped back, held both her wrists together, and knelt. Be a better toy tinker than I was. Please. Polly nodded frantically. I just couldn't. I didn't mean to steal your product. I just meant to modify something. It was supposed to be derivative, not. She started to sob again. That's okay, Polly. Brainy, are you not listening to me? They're coming up the street. Everybody makes mistakes. I should know. I started sniffling too. I really should. I coughed. I'm barely human anymore. I'm barely me. I haven't been me my whole life. Oh my God, you too. Ding! 3T and Percy Pinwheel stepped out of the elevator. Percy rushed to pull Polly away from me, and as she did, Polly waved her arms at me like a child. 3T walked straight towards me. Tom, Don't call me that. I imagine he's pulling his sleeve up. Don't call me that. He began to force me towards the door. Peppa noticed the trend and walked out the door on her own accord. You've got no right going around and hurting people all the time. Ashley hasn't functioned for weeks. I saw Percy take Polygary Ashley into the elevator behind 3T. Wonderworld TM hasn't been the same. We haven't been the same. You could do everyone a favor and leave. He gave the final shove by practically punching me in the chest and then stood in the doorway. With an expression I could only approximate as a combination of disgust, pity, and rage, 3T spoke his final words to me. Goodbye, Brian. All right, I want to get this right, though. Was it angry, or was it sad, or was that right? Ah, man. Goodbye, Brian. There, just like a little sadder. And then he slammed the door shut. Pepper and I shared a look in the silence. Something cracked inside me. Something so fundamental, I went back to infancy. Instinctively, I collapsed onto the pink and red hexagonally tiled road, curled into my ball, and tried to access my happy place. My happy place used to be Wonderworld TM, so it wasn't really working. But that was okay. I just make a new one. Something with clear boundaries. Somewhere inescapable. Somewhere from which I couldn't hurt anyone. Not ever again. Pepper made her way over to me and shook me. She was saying something, but it wasn't coming through. She gave up on me. As well she should have. I was to be given up on. I wasn't worth it. Not ever. Not really. But I was in my happy place now. Mom was there, and Dad, and they were both happy together. And I was playing with my toys. I hadn't designed any yet, because I was small. In fact, maybe I never made toys. Maybe this world didn't need a toy maker named Brian. Maybe this world didn't need a toy maker Brian. Maybe this world didn't need Brian at all. Maybe I could just lay here for a good long while. So sad. A kick to my side alerted me. Was that Pepper? Ow! And again! I shuddered as someone struck their foot under my side and rolled me onto my back. I stared up at the dim snooze day sky, and the pillow sun guest starring in the right corner of my eye. Pepper leaned over me and pursed her lips in a pitying, deploring glare. Joining on her left One of those pursuers in black stepped towards me. From my angle, all I could tell was that she was wearing a black turtleneck and had short hair. I was trying not to look at her. Whatever the pursuers wanted, I was sure I was done for. This had to be it. I have been so close to dying so often recently. This was karma. This was a whole ton of karma falling on me like a sack of bricks. I wish they'd just get it over with. I wanted the pain to be over. Mystery woman voice, mystery woman voice. This is pathetic, the mystery woman said. Yeah, Pepper sighed. He does this a lot. Wonderworld local. Should have expected him to be so emotional. Pepper smirked. It's sort of endearing, though. The mystery woman knelt down beside me and attempted to make eye contact with me. Brian? Brian Harding, are you in there? We're not here to hurt you. It took as much effort as suffering succotash. It took as much effort as Sisyphus pushing his boulder uphill, but I somehow willed my lips to move. You're not? She turned my head towards her with her hand, forcing me to make eye contact. No, we're here to hire you. Oh no. But the longer you lay in your little puddle of tears, the more likely I am to rethink this decision. So get up, if you please. I shot up into a sitting position. A job? Who are you with? Marshall, Carter, and Darling. What? What do you want with me? What am I good for? She motioned to Pepper. I think she speaks for herself. I do. Plus, your ex-entertainment. Your credentials are impressive, to say the least. I just sat there, sniffling and wiping my watering eyes. We need a yes or no here, Brian. Brainy. Sorry, Brainy. Yes, but... Good, I'll get us a car. The woman walked away, towards two other businessy-looking people who I recognized as our mystery followers from earlier. I just sat in the middle of the road, teary and battered, looking anything but my best today, and I knew it. Pepper sat down next to me. So, why were they chasing us? They weren't chasing us, Brainy. We were just running. She started playing with my hair. I don't deserve this job. You know what? Pepper said, clearly exasperated. Maybe you don't. Whatever, sure. You've done some not-so-kosher things, so your pity party's in full swing, and I agree. You're very pitiable. But why feel bad about this? So what if you don't deserve this job? Right now, you've got basically no friends but me, and you've got nowhere to go unless you take this job. So, take it. She looked intensely at me. If you take this job, you'll probably lead a successful enough life to have the opportunity to become a person good enough to deserve it. Does that ring true for you? I rubbed my right eye with my fist. Yeah? I croaked. Yeah, I like that. Good. Pepper slapped me on the back. Now get up and get in the car. We have places to be. She pulled me onto my feet, like she was so good at doing, and led me to the slick-back black car parked on the side of the road. Somewhere in the distance, sirens of the hall monitors were closing in. Undoubtedly, they had been called on me, probably by 3T. As we climbed in the back seats of the car, I got the often misplaced feeling of safety. Maybe this would work. It might actually work. I held Pepper's hand, and she squeezed me back. Life had been unbelievable recently. We drove off to who knows where. My emotions. Thank God for the chapter break. I'm going to eat a bite of popcorn and
Fairy
have
J,
a drink
you have. Oh, sorry.
Lemonade. Go ahead,
Lemonade.
Darkstuff. You're
Gotcha.
up. What's up?
Fairy J, you are very accurate in your assessment that nobody has to be good for MC and D. Which I think she commented while Brainy was talking about deserving the job or not.
That's almost in the job description that you should not be, I think. Mostly.
Also, you've given both the people that have hired Brainy Russian or Austrian accents.
Actually, I did realize that. I realized that, oh no, I'm doing upside down face voice. I guess if you're willing to hire Brainy, you have to have a Russian accent.
Yep.
It's
Kind of like
called
half
themes.
Arnold, half not.
It's called themes. It's called art.
Uh-huh.
All right. I'm here. I'm 3T. I never want 3T to be sad or angry in my life. When 3T is sad or angry, my heart is breaking.
3T is so great. I love him. Also, I agree with Insanity Major. He said, I was scared that the 3T voice would hurt this emotional line, but it came out great. I, of course, don't know what exactly the line was, but I agree on the whole. I was worried about how it would affect the emotional scene, but it didn't. It did not make it worse.
So, my favorite Disney movie is the Goofy movie.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think you can't have your heart broken by Goofy voice, you're wrong.
All right. I haven't seen that. I should watch it.
When Goofy gets sad or angry, that's when you know things are serious.
Uh-huh.
All right. Are you guys ready to finish this thing?
I am.
All right. Here we go, guys. Here we go.
And I'll give you a heads up. This next section is not from the perspective of Brainy.
Oh, thank you. I will change that background voice. Back to normal voice. Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
They'd heard of a way to have a shared dream. It was just a rumor. Something going around that Cindy picked up on, out of the many little occult-oriented circles she was a part of. Some small ritual that you could do before you go to sleep that could make you and your friends hallucinate in unison. Terry was sure it wasn't going to work, because Cindy's rituals never worked. But they were fun to buy into. At the very least, all this stuff seemed pretty harmless. That's the spicy popcorn cough. Continuing. This one was special, though, because Cindy said that it was overly specific. It had been circulating that, for it to work, you needed a very specific piece of scrap, and that she had acquired it. It felt like the torn-off corner of a credit card, but its surface was glittery, and felt like a glimpse of outer space. Terry had admitted it. He had no idea what it could be. And at this hot moment, I have no idea what it could be, but I'm super interested. No material he knew of looked or felt like that, so he let Cindy have that one. And that made her very excited. Up at Jake's house, in his attic, everyone followed Cindy's directions to a T. First, you had to place the piece of scrap down on the floor. Step 2 was to get a dream catcher and somehow hang it over the scrap. In a circle around the scrap, you had to lay down pillow stuffing, and then you had to sprinkle the stuffing with sage. After all this was done, you placed a candle on top of the scrap and lit it. Cindy told everyone that the candle had to burn all the way down to its base for it to work, so they picked a very small candle. She also told them that they had to get a big whiff of the candle smell, so they made sure it was scented too. After the light went out, and they had all properly smelled the candle, The last step was to fall asleep. It took a long time for everyone to do it, because that's how it worked with early teenagers. But eventually it occurred. And in their sleep, magic happened. It was Peter who first opened his eyes. He saw a starry sky, impossibly full, with shooting stars happening every couple seconds. The stars refused to remain one gleaming color, and instead were pink and blue and green and orange and yellow and purple and everything in between. Sitting up, he saw the sleeping bodies of all his friends laying in a dark blue mist. They looked to be on an island made of cotton, in the middle of a glass ocean that reflected the sky perfectly. It was possibly the most beautiful thing Peter had ever seen, even in his dreams. And in the middle of the island, there was a peculiar sight. A large pillar jutted out at an unstable-looking angle, adorned with depictions of constellations, comets, and mirrors. Across its top, Peter was able to make out the words, Marshall, Carter, and... But it disappeared around the curvature of the pillar. Peter, not wanting to wake his friends, decided to stand and make his way towards the pillar. He quickly found a marble path through the cottony substance and followed it towards the peak of the island. Once he got there, he was struck with another odd sight. A desk that appeared to be an aquarium full of sparkling cosmic fish. The rolling chair on the other side was draped with glittering silks and faced away from him. "Welcome," said a voice that echoed like it was the god of the universe, "to the office of Dr. Neuroses, your trustworthy supplier of all things soul-binding and vessel-making." As the chair turned around, it revealed a man, tall and scrawny, sitting with an expression of uncontainable enthusiasm. I feel like I want to go back and do that in Brainy voice now. Should I go back and do that in Brainy voice? Thumb up? Thumb down? I'm going to do it because I think that's where this is going. "Welcome," said a voice that echoed like it was the god of the... "Welcome," said a god that echoed like it was the god of this universe, "to the office of Dr. Neuroses, your trustworthy supplier of all things soul-binding and vessel-making." As the chair turned around, it revealed a man, tall and scrawny, sitting with an expression of uncontainable enthusiasm. His suit was midnight blue, top to bottom, a shade so deep it became a shade so deep it became more of a black that looked highlighted with a brilliant open sky feeling from certain angles. His hands, while human, had nails like refined claws, polished black and artfully sharpened. His face was painted to look like a puma, not a tiger, I see, with galactic flourishes of starlight around the eyes. He had a velvety top hat, the same midnight blue as his suit, but spattered with moving stars and meteors and every type of astronomical body. He grinned from ear to ear. "Would you like to place an order?" he said, with a voice soft and purring, yet targeted, sharp, and accentuated. But Peter just stood, awestruck, staring at the spectacle of the scene. He could not speak, not if it meant his life. Dr. Neuroses' smile faded. "Hello?" But Peter's jaw was literally agape. "Oh, gosh, Dawn, don't tell me." He got up suddenly from his seat and made his way over to look down the path. There he could make out Peter's friends, all still motionless. No, not again. Golly gee willikers, that's the second one tonight." He shook Peter by the shoulders. "Eighth one this week." Dr. Neuroses frantically made his way back to his desk, sat down in his chair, held down an ocean blue button on the side of his desk, and then spoke into it. "It's another group of tweens, not customers. Gee, Montley, Crizzity, just, flippity gibbet, just tell Tell Peppa to change the ritual. Again? Fiend! Fiend!
Fiend!
Fiend!
The end! The grand finale! Yay!
I remember every time you asked me, where do you think this is going? And nope, this is not where I thought it was going.
While I was writing it, me neither, kinda. The first 5 chapters were pretty planned, and then everything after that was pretty on the fly, which I think you could tell at certain points. So sorry if that was obvious, but I really like where it ended up.
Oh man, this is a moment of shaking off that we did it all.
Uh-huh.
It happened. We did it. We made it to the end.
Insanity Major says, yes, I'd like an exact copy of my body, but 3 inches taller.
I wonder what they charge for that now that I think about it, since it's an MC&D venture.
Probably a lot. Probably a lot.
All right, so I'm listening while I duck out of camera frame for 5 seconds, but do you have anything for the end of this? What sort of dark stuff we got?
Well, this story, so as awful of a person as Brainy pretty much is, he's my most, quote, self-inserty kind of character that I've written, because I really, really love rambling on and just talking forever. And so I made a story, the first long-form fiction story that I wrote, of course, had to star a main character who was exactly like that, and I basically wrote it stream of consciousness often. But on the other hand, I really, really enjoyed all the world building that I did for Wonderworld TM, except it's Wonderworld TM because it always has the exclamation point. But I really loved doing all the world building for that. It's created a canon that I now am writing in basically exclusively. That's just all I do in writing now, which is pretty awesome. What else? I think I'm done writing Brainy's story, but I'm not done writing Pepper's, because I really love her as a character, and in Vend-a-Friend, she kind of took... someone said it more elegantly than this, but basically she's kind of a plot point for Brainy instead of her own character. Not that she didn't get characterization, but that she's there to redeem Brainy in the eyes of the reader, you know? Like, oh, he has empathy for another person and altruistically gives her a body, something. Oh, I can relate to this character now, and he sort of kind of has a redemption arc. Although I would really like to, as someone put in the comments of the last chapter, whether or not he is quote-unquote redeemed is supposed to be up to the reader, because I think realistically, not really.
That was a whole lot of child murder to redeem.
It was a whole lot. It was a whole lot of child murder.
He gave one person a body, and now he's working for profit, which isn't really a step up.
Yeah. Not terribly. But yeah, let me 1 second. I'm going to read to you the author post that I wrote at the end of this series, so that you can get into the headspace of, what was it, 16-year-old me finishing their first big long thing. So Here I go. Author post by me on the 13th of December, 2018. How do I even fucking write this author post? I just now wrote the author note at the bottom of the main hub, which says a lot of what I wanted to say, but just, I don't know. I mean, seriously, this is the end of my biggest, proudest series. Probably my biggest life achievement thus far. In parentheses, don't worry, I have plans to do bigger IRL stuff, but still. This is closing off what has been with me for like 9 months. It's my baby and something I have put hours upon hours into. I guess I just have to let it be something that happened and be happy with it. I mean, okay, this is going to get rambly, just like our lovable protagonist, but for those not in the know, I am 16. Was 16. Just gonna put that out there. And I feel like most things you write when you're 16, you're supposed to look back on later and go, that was edgy, I'm glad I got past that, or man, that was dumb, I'm glad I'm a better writer now. And just, I can't see that happening. I feel like I'll always be proud of this. Like, I'll always be happy that I can say I wrote a book. I mean, it's over 60,000 words. A book! I can't believe it. And of course, I couldn't have done it without such a wonderful group of online friends. This is a truly gifted community, so some shoutouts. Veraxis was there when I was first pitching this project, was part of the group that brainstormed the first tale. Thank you. Werillium was also there since the very beginning, has been a draft reader on almost every tale, and has worked with me through the whole thing. Thank you. Malice Aforethought, another friend who's been there basically the whole time and has read everything in draft form. Thank you. Dr. Chandra, a crucial beta reader who helped me through writing in his universe of Dread and Circuses, helped a lot with the dialogue with Icky and Manny, helped me shape the story in general. Great big help. Thank you. And Genshed, or Genshed, not sure. Seriously, just calling you out for commenting so much. Comments are my bread and butter. Seeing someone invested in the series and following it helps keep me motivated. Thank you. And to everyone else who has helped at various points in this project, so if I were to write this author post now, I would include Sherm.
No.
Seriously, thank you for enabling me to make something that I will be thinking about for years and years to come. You're all wonderful. Also, Dr. Chandra will be making a bonus article featuring Brainy Brian within a week or two. That went up. And when that goes up, I will post a link to it in this very author post. Oh, what? What's that? It's up? Oh, goody. Here it is. There's a link.
Oh, there's a link in the author post. If you go to do what people in the YouTube chat are saying right now, which is go upvote the stories because you liked them if you made it this far, then go upvote all the stories and also go check out that Brainy Brian sequel that's waiting.
Yeah, go do that. It's fun. Thank you all for your readership, and thank you all for making this possible. I love this site, and I love you guys. Also, for sentimental value, I highly encourage readers of the series to post their thoughts in the comments here. So if anyone has an account on the SCP Wiki, then I encourage you, and you've been with us through the whole thing, I encourage you to go post something about your experience in the author post.
Go on the ending chapter, again, chapter 15, holding an umbrella, but the sun's still shining, and leave some how this story affected you comments, because that would be the dopest.
So, I have an idea. Well, first, I would like to ask you, what is your impression of Brainy as a character? What do you think of him?
So, you deal with... Alright, so Brainy is our protagonist through 99% of this. And as such, we're supposed to sympathize with him in perspective. And personality-wise, the rambling, I adore it. The character, the enthusiasm, I am here for it. It's one of my more fun voice characters to play with. Because it's
your voice changed so much throughout the thing, but I think somewhere in the middle you got a consistent one.
Well, that's because I'm a mediocre voice actor. Ha ha! But in the meantime...
Or because you didn't watch the last episode before you made the next one.
I did
just
not
as a thing you could do. I don't know, just a suggestion. Anyways, continue. Don't mean to be ribbing you.
Oh no. Darkstuff's got me right in the heart. So yes, this series has taught Sherman, outside of talking about Brainy, that he needs to do more of his homework to remember who these voices are if he does this again. Outside of topic, even a second tangent. I just, my favorite book series, The Dresden Files, released an new entry this week. And I read through it, but I also got to listen to the audiobook version a little bit. And James Marsters of Buffy the Vampire Slayer fame is the audiobook reader for all of them.
Ooh.
And in the beginning, you can hear his, I don't do a lot of audiobooks. And also, I don't know how to pronounce these mystical words properly. Or even proper names of regular human beings.
Italian is hard.
And so, you listen to him through like 3 or 4 books, finally find a consistent style, and now I need to do that.
Do it. Upgrade your skills. Level up, finally.
But meanwhile, Brainy, as protagonist, we're supposed to sympathize with him to a point. For the amount of child murder he committed, albeit off his meds, I go back to the Uncle Iroh question, which is, if you've watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, Uncle
I
Iroh in
haven't,
the
but I'm
show...
watching it currently.
Okay. Well, this shouldn't spoil too much for you. Uncle Iroh, before he was what he is in the show, was a general for the Fire Nation who did the war and did, murder, essentially.
Yeah, bad things.
And so he has changed and he is doing better and he helps the world in good ways now. But how you weigh those past crimes is a question of morality. And so too, Brian, do I ask, you murdered a lot of children. Have you made up for that? I don't
think
know.
so. Not within the bounds of this story, at the very least.
No.
He has not made up for that on the page.
And so as much as I adore his personality, there is a tiny niggling voice in my head going, hey, child murderer. And I'm making very dramatic big eyes since you can't see my face in time. But it's a very kind of face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just saw on the replay. All right.
And so, yes, that is how I feel about Brainy. I adore the character and the performance and the personality, but morals.
Yeah.
Morals.
I think that a friend of mine said it best when they said, I wouldn't want to be in an elevator with him.
Factual.
Which I think is a very apt description. Also, I don't know if it was never said on the page, but that mystery woman was Iris Dark. Do you know that character?
I have not heard of Iris Stark.
Huh. Iris Dark is the progeny of the... I don't know what his first name is, but Mr. Dark of Marshall Carter and Dark. And because Mr. Dark is so very mysterious, Iris Dark is the proxy for him that goes about and does his business.
That makes sense in the story. And now she's Russian.
Apparently she is now Russian.
At least in this canon. At least in the Site 42 canon.
Yep. From now until forever. I'm certain that you won't forget that you made her Russian.
I certainly will not forget by next weekend.
Hopefully not. There is also, way later, I've written the beginning of a series, the first chapter in a Pepper-focused series. It was going to be a mini-series, maybe just like 3 chapters. But right after I wrote the first chapter, I started getting really distracted with another huge series that I'm writing, which I'm now 20 chapters into. So, priorities. But there is a tale on the site that's about Pepper, just from Pepper's perspective.
What's it called?
It's called New Life.
New Life. And by the way, chat, if you have any questions about this whole Vend-a-Friend series at all for Darkstuff, you have the author captive for at least the next 5 minutes. So ask your questions now if you've got them.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Let me scroll up in the chat a bit. Ignored a lot of schoolwork when you read this. I feel that, Insanity Major. I have ignored schoolwork when I've become enraptured with something I'm reading too. Cringe goth poetry was from when C. Jops was 16. I would love to see some of it, C. Jops.
We all get to look back at when we were 16 and be like, yeah, no, yeah, no.
Yeah. You know what? I really like Vend-a-Friend. I do not like me, like the person. Darkstuff when 16. I don't like them. I'll put that out there.
You haven't really grown unless you can look back at your old self and want to smack them. That's kind of the rules.
Yeah, otherwise you've just been living the perfect life where nothing goes wrong.
Alright, so you've got New Life, which is the Pepper story. There is a linked extra brainy tale. Pimp your new 20-part series, what is that?
Well, it's going to be 51 parts by the end. But it's called Take It Away, My Darling. Thank you for... I imagine because of the avatar that John Hahn is Elegy Fishtruck, who said, "Take it away, my darling, hype." Thank you for hyping it. It's what I'm working on right now. I tried to get a chapter out a week, and I didn't fail at that for like 16 weeks, and then I started failing very recently, within like the past 2 months. But it's still going. It's chugging. The last chapter was released 2 weeks ago, so it's getting made. It's just getting made slowly, because having every day feel the exact same and having like no aim in life currently because of extenuating circumstances,
these uncertain times,
makes me be not motivated, and kind of like, this is being very melodramatic and not entirely accurate, but kind of like dissociate like between me and my goals. Just, it's really fucking hard to get anything done.
Let's just talk mental health for 5 seconds. I have stopped recognizing myself in the mirror recently. There's moments where I look in the mirror, look at pictures of myself, and I'm like, that's not who I am. I do need a haircut. That might help. But
you don't need a haircut. Never, ever.
But yes, just in case anybody out in the audience is freaking out, the rest of us are freaking out.
Become one with the quarantine. Stop shaving. Stop cutting your hair. Stop taking care of yourself.
I see some great questions in the chat I'm going to bring up real quick.
I'm a hairball.
Talaran, or Chakadek, whichever name we want to call them, asks, what did you use to keep you motivated with your stories? So, back then or now? ADHD. Besides ADHD, Katie.
To keep myself motivated? Well, right now, clearly I'm not doing super great with that. Back then, I also wasn't doing super great. I did get out a chapter every other day after I wrote the first 5, but that's because I wrote them in advance. And then getting them out, it's weird, because the best way to get things out consistently is to have a schedule. Absolutely. If you let yourself become adrift in the sea of time management, then you're always going to be like, oh, I can do that tomorrow, or I can do that next time. There's literally no pressure to get things done. So what helped me for the first 16 chapters of Take It Away, My Darling, my current series, was to say to myself, 1 a week, get it done. And I got it done, and that felt really awesome. And it's eroded now, but absolutely give yourself deadlines. And don't just give yourself deadlines, tell other people about those deadlines, and have other people check in with you about those deadlines, because I think this applies to many more people than just me, but I'm a weird mix of self-motivated and then also absolutely not. As in, I find it really hard to do things that I don't want to do, but I also absolutely need other people to keep me accountable to even do the things that I want to do. So get some friends who can harp you, who you will be okay with totally harping on you to get shit done, who will notice when you don't get things in on time and be like, what the fuck are you doing? Also, change up your work environment. I know that some people have this thing where they have like so maybe this works for you. So if it does, keep doing that. But for me, I can't work in the same place every time. I literally just like going upstairs instead of downstairs, or when it's an overcast day so I don't get glare on my screen, sitting out on my deck to do work. Just like change up the environment, and then it'll feel a lot less monotonous. I was going to a cafe, and going to a cafe was amazing for my mental health. I was able to get shit done because when I'm at a cafe, I feel like a pressure to just be productive instead of do other random bullshit that I want to do. But not an option currently. So, other than that, keep yourself motivated. Choose something that you really want to do. You will be more motivated if you really want it.
Being willing to quit a thing because you're not motivated and move on to something you are motivating for is a blessing.
True. Very true. Although for many years, although this is when I was like a young teenager, so it's like obviously growing up is going to happen if you're at this point. But there were many years where actually I did get super motivated to do things, and then I stopped being motivated, and then I moved on to something else because I wasn't motivated. So if you see it for yourself as a pattern that you never get things done, then you might have to take a step back and force yourself to do something. Different strokes for different folks. It's just whatever works for you. I'm just telling you what works for me.
Finding balance, finding your way.
Mm-hmm.
A
drawing a day with a close friend. Nice, Insanity Major.
That's a heck of a goal. Also, Lady Fairy asked a question that I'm curious about more specifically. Was there something that inspired you to bring MC&D in to pull Brainy out in the last third? Where did they come from, since they didn't show up in the first two acts?
In Dread and Circuses, MC&D have a very big presence in the circus, which I really didn't play up at all when I wrote the circus, which was something that if I went back and rewrote this series, I would play up, is that, they are present in ways, specifically Victor Chang, who I wrote into the end of chapter 12. Yeah, 12. So really the whole idea was, where does he go from here? And I knew I wanted him to have an emotional moment with 3T, but I knew that I also didn't want him to end up in jail or like something like that. And I was like, oh wait, MC&D would have been at the circus. They would have seen him and noticed that he transferred a soul from a mirror into a body and been like, that's marketable, and then picked him up. They were basically a shoehorned in plot device.
Yay, capitalism.
Yay. Yeah.
There's something, I just wanted to point this out for Lady Fairy J, just in case. They're mentioning that Twitter is great for people critiquing SCPs, but like in a very light, skimming, not really paying a lot of attention to things way. So I have two big things to say about this myself before I let Darkstuff also pile onto this. But my number one thing about SCP critique in general is, number one, just make sure that your SCP is as clean as possible before you ask. Because if people are critiquing your little problems, then that means they're not going to get to see the story issues that you really want them to see. So make sure you've spell checked it, grammar, all that stuff. That's not specific to Lady Fairy J. I know that their stuff is actually pretty clean, but this is just general information. once you have that, in order to get critique, this is the second thing, you kind of have to also be willing to give critique. And so the nice thing about going to Discord servers that do SCP, like the Site42 one, like SCP Declassified, there's a million of them. Every YouTuber has one for SCP stuff. And often SCP authors will gather and talk about their pieces. But you also want to make sure that you're reciprocating, that you're also critiquing other people's pieces, because it's not anyone's job to do this for you. So if you do it for them, quid pro quo, they do it for you, you're more likely to get critique and get better critique from people who are already on board with the process. Darkstuff, anything to add to those 2 points? Your own?
Okay. I am critique staff on SCP, but I'm taking a hiatus because quarantine has been such a burden that if I can't even get like my other shit done, then I'm not going to be able to get all these big critiques done, yada yada. But the point is, I've had a lot of experience critiquing and getting critique, obviously, because I've written a lot. And what I find is that your people sometimes, especially people new to writing, or at least new to writing on SCP, go to get critiques from just a number of people. They have like I need 5 critiques, and then they get 5 critiques, and then they publish it. And they don't really give thought to how experienced those individual critiquers are. And while other new writers can catch certain things, you're really looking for experienced people to look at your writing. And eventually, this is kind of a long-term goal, and this is something that I think every writer will naturally develop from just writing on the site a lot. Instead of getting critique from random people by posting like, I need critique on this, please give me critique, start building a repertoire of people that you know who have given you really solid critique in the past, and then make the rounds of like those people. Like I shouldn't name names because I don't want you like PMing them. They're just like people in my circles, but like Malice and Captain Kirby and Uncle Nicolini, and the list goes on, are just the people who, when I have a draft, I'm like, all right, and I send it to them. And then when enough people of that repertoire of people who I've like vetted are good critiquers have read it over, then I get a good feeling, then I publish it. Until you're at that point, IRC has hashtag the critters, which is a great place to go. There's critique staff there all the time, posting drafts in the forums. If you're not doing SCP stuff, I have a lot less experience there because I've literally only done SCP stuff. But I imagine there's analogous things for anything you're writing. Pretty sure.
I just have one more point to tack onto this critique thing before we move on, because Lady Fairy's last comment struck me, which is that, and most of the wiki folks can kind of be some dicks sometimes. And that is a perception. That is a way things go. I have been that dick before. Katie stopped me from being that dick on TikTok when I wanted to make a big public post about how people should be spell checking their work before sending it to people for critique. Oh, and now I have 2 things to say. The first one is on this point of SCP writers being dicks. Yeah, sometimes that happens. It's understandable. And one thing you kind of have to deal with is the fact that in your social circles, people may or may not be the most personable. Some of us smile, some of us not. And also, you're not, because again, you're not getting paid to critique people, then you're looking at a case where this isn't their job. They don't sugarcoat it for you because they're not getting paid to. If a professional editor is going to give you the tea, but not like hurt your feelings, someone who's doing it for free will give you the answers, but also will be annoyed if something annoys them. And I wish that we were at a world where people were not dicks unnecessarily, but even I may be a dick unnecessarily sometimes. And
Yeah.
this is why it's nice to get friends who you know are authors and that you can talk to frankly, and when they speak frankly, it won't hurt your feelings.
Hi, Sasha. Hi, Sasha. Come up here.
Oh, we have a friend.
Be on
I'm
the
going to wait
screen.
for my next
Be on the
point until
screen.
our friend shows up. Oh my god, what a good friend.
Hi, dog. Hi. How much can you see of her on the camera? Oh, yes. Enough. Hi.
And the second thing I'm going to add is that sometimes it is, like Darkstuff said, right to find the right people, but also the right people for the right story. I was recently approached by Dune for SCP-5466, which is essentially an author meta. I'm stressed out by trying to perfect my story for the wiki, and so I've rewritten it 3,000 times. And that is the story of that article. And when they approach me for critique, I'm like, 3999 is one of my 2 favorite stories. I love this meta malarkey. I love this kind of anxiety for artists. This is exactly what I want to critique. And I was able to give them a lot of good insight because that was my wheelhouse. And so it could be worth it to find people who write the articles you're trying to write and go to them for help if you have established a relationship that would allow you to do so.
I'll just interject in there. I do not like meta stuff generally. I'll just put that out there. I upvoted 3999 because I thought it was good, but I'm not. I get it, but I don't grok it. How popular it got.
I completely understand the upvote. That is, I understand that this is technically good from a perspective that I don't like. This is not my favorite flavor, but I know it's competent.
Honestly, yeah, SCP-3999 delivered a feeling that I didn't expect to get delivered by an SCP, and that is why I upvoted it. But I didn't feel it so strongly that I expected it to get like plus 1,000. What's it at now? It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, 3999 is bananas up there. I will stan 399 till my dying day because it's at 1805 right now.
Jesus.
There's a lot in them, like surrealism. I'm a fan of House of Leaves, the book.
I love House of Leaves.
And so, like, I wrote 3 essays, but I only recorded one of them because 2 of them were Reddit comments. But because when I was defending 3999, it was new. And so I was defending it on Reddit, and I finally wrote a YouTube video to defend it and like break it down, and that is my version of SCP Declassified. But
is that on this channel?
Yeah, it's on the YouTube on Site42 channel, and it's an SCPD thing. But it's these are the literary references, the breakdown of mechanics, why even though this is surreal, this all makes sense in a way. I'm pretty sure that Stonefish thinks I'm ridiculous and looking too deep than I am, but at least from my eyes, I think I broke it down and made sense of it to a point.
I will check that out later, and I encourage other people to as well. I would like to answer a question from Insanity Major. Well, answer by not answering. How exactly did Brainy make a new body from his headspace? If you explain the magic, it's not magic anymore.
Oh no! I'm so glad you caught that one because I was going to ask you about that one too.
I am very much of the mindset that if I were to make a world from the ground up, I would make it have rules and regulations and have it have kind of an internal sense. But SCP is such a wide, sprawling thing that I think that you have to accept that it's chaos. And to try and explain things will go only so far. And so I just write it as I perceive it, which is absolute anarchy. So that's how you just get to have the characters tell you how difficult or not difficult it is to do a thing that some character did, so that you know whether to be scared of them or not.
This happened. Why?
hmm
Ooh.
Anomalous. That's how it happened.
Ah, man. Any final words for the stream? I think we've wrapped up all the questions.
I really hope to be on this podcast more, but I hope that next time, because I have been hogging up so much of your podcast, I'm probably at this point the most frequent guest.
More than. At this point, no one has been on here 15 plus times.
All right. Yep. Then definitely. But I want to be back because it's fun to do a podcast every Sunday. But I want to voice act. I want to like read things with you, do readings.
Ooh.
Sounds very fun.
Ooh, I am excited for that. To do some team theater. That sounds
readings
cool.
of other people's shit instead of mine. Because
honestly, there's
my fair share.
My first plan is that I'm gonna let some other people on the stream for a couple weeks. Because in case you have not been here 15 weeks prior to where the show was before Vend-a-Friend, this show is meant to bring on SCP authors and that pimp their articles essentially. And we read their article and we explain anything that the author has to say. And then, because we did a series, it's been Darkstuff show for 15 and a half weeks.
Yep.
Which has been awesome. But I'm going to let like a couple weeks go where I have anybody who wants to volunteer that week. They'll schedule in. We'll do some different articles over time. And eventually, I'm going to have a week where I don't have a guest. Because that happened like the 5 weeks before Darkstuff started. Oh no, Darkstuff has vanished. I will bury this until Darkstuff returns. Oh no. But I'll continue talking until TheeSherm disappears. TheeSherm, no!
Can't stop you talking.
And so maybe Darkstuff will come back. But while I'm talking, so our mission is that we'll let on some other people for a while. Let them pimp their articles. But if we miss a week, then we will definitely... Essentially, Darkstuff, I will invite you back. Can you hear me, by the way?
I can hear you, but things on my computer are crashing. Did you notice that I left and joined the call?
I did. That's why I just asked, because we saw you disappear.
Yeah, and now my Google Chrome, the stream has... Oh, no, the stream's back. Okay. We're totally good now.
All right, so yeah, what I'm saying is that, essentially, hey, Darkstuff, if I don't have a guest on a night, do you want to sub in and maybe do even someone else's article and just read things for fun and be a recurring guest? Will you be my recurring guest, he says, ring in hand?
I would do that.
He said yes!
I would like to. I
Honestly,
feel like if I
depending
do this,
on-
I have to get a setup like you. I'll have to get like a whole like thing.
We'll have to get
I'll
you a
have to make a-
podcast studio space. It's a commitment. You'll have to work hard. We'll be there. I'll be there for you.
I want to know. Someone say in the chat, is my audio quality comparable to him? I have a really good mic. I haven't finagled it really at all.
Ah, yes. And if anybody listening right now will tell Darkstuff how he sounds on camera, because we've had audio issues because they get vocal, but we've also had audio issues. Issues is a word that I can't say right now. Issues with Discord. So if he sounds like comparable to me, then that makes it like super clear. It's good enough for this show, CJOP says.
Good.
I'm on their side.
Because
Then
on
I'll
Get
get, like,
Vocal,
a
it was very
setup.
nice that you could have 4 windows. And so I liked having not only the author, but maybe other people on. And so, yeah, I'm thinking in a world where Discord lets us do multiple windows, I can get you guys on the show where you're like, there is a guest reader. and we can discuss it, and you can have other questions for them that I might not think of.
I would say some things to tech up would be in the stream you can tell that it's a Discord call because it has like your face and my face on the right and then these big black bars. And I'm certain there is some way that you could get it to record only a section of your screen and have it be that square where I am.
Yeah, I'm wondering what that would look like with multiple people and see if we can clean that up.
And if I do like a guest host thing, if I become a regular, it would be neat to figure out how to do like a split down the middle and like two people like facing each other as if we're in the same room kind of idea.
Snap.
Just things to put out there, things that could happen.
Improvements in the future of Site 42.
It's a little loud compared to Sherm. I'm louder than Sherm? That's wrong. I'm the guest.
That's impressive. I can fix that on my end. I can give you like a 1% drop because I don't want to go further than 1% because I don't trust it. But like 1% volume, that'll equalize. Cool. There we go. That should make it even then.
Good. All right.
Any final words for the night? I'm ready to go finish my popcorn and get to the recording I have to do tonight.
I hope to see y'all again. That's all that I have to say.
Darkstuff will return to Site 42. Trust us.
I will. Dr. K stuff.
Dr. K stuff.
All right.
Good night,
Sayonara.
amigo. Congratulations on finishing the Vend-a-Friend series with us.
Thank you, and congratulations on reading all of it. Jesus.
Looks like we made it. Oh, my lord.
All right. Bye-bye.
Good night, amigo. And Site 42 fam in the chat. I hope you enjoyed this longer than 15-week adventure as we finish Vend-a-Friend. I am going to go have a nap because this was epic, and that is the end of that. So thank you guys for coming. I hope you had fun. I hope you enjoyed the stream, and we will see what the heck we're reading next week and who's going to join us. Thank you guys for coming, and I'll see you in the next stream. You know, all the YouTube things. Become a patron, like, share, subscribe, go on the TikTok, things like that. See you next time.